Hello, Facebook family.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome.
Hello.
So, as we talked about, I wonder, can you guys hear me? I don't think anybody's on yet.
Yeah, I should be able to hear you.
Yeah. Okay. So, if you remember last week when we finished our episode, we talked about what's coming next. And so this week, we are at the next. I have with me, of course, my father and co-host of the build. And now, Mom has joined, Mrs. Tracy Barlock.
Hello.
And she is here, they are here to talk about the first big pillar of the family, which is the covenant of marriage.
Yes.
Yes.
So today we have a list of prepared things about which to speak with you. We're going to talk about families, continue in our series, season 2. It's all about building a family. And we're going to talk about what it means to be married. So, Dad, you want to start us off?
Sure. First of all, it's great to be with you guys again. And it's always good to have Tess and good to have my lovely wife with us this evening. We've been talking about building the family. We based it off of a script passage in Nehemiah chapter 4 and verse 14. And I'll read it to you again. After I looked things over, I stood up and said to the nobles, the officials, and the rest of the people, don't be afraid of them. Remember the Lord, who is great and awesome, and fight for your families, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your homes. We've been talking about fighting for the family, building for the family. As they were building the walls, we built the family. And we based a lot of that off of Genesis, God making Adam and Eve in his image after his likeness, and them being the start of the family. Adam and Eve, the family is the first institution given by God. It was before the church, it was before nations, it was before countries, it was before anything public or private. There was the family. The family was number one. And then God made the family, and one of the places that the family lived on earth, in the new earth, was called the Garden of Eden. And that would be kind of the first home environment. There weren't houses. As a matter of fact, the first house didn't come till later on in history. The first tent didn't come on until after the fall. But everything was out in the open in this place called the Garden of Eden. That's where Adam worked and Eve cultivated a family atmosphere. All of that happened there. And then, of course, it was the fall and all of that. We talked about that. But tonight we're going to talk about as Tess said, one of the pillars, which is marriage. So we're going to talk a little bit about marriage, and I want to talk about marriage with my beautiful wife. And we're going to kind of start discussion this way. First of all, our names are real interesting. When you think about our names are real interesting. First of all, my name is Adrian, and your first name is?
Adrian.
Okay. And my middle name is Lawrence.
And my middle name is Latrice.
Yep. So our initials are exactly the same. Adrian and Adrienne.
Yeah.
And were you named after anyone in particular, or was that just a name that?
My father loved the French track star back in the day. And
Okay, right.
And I believe that it was a female. I think it was female. Her name was actually Adrienne Latrice. She was French. And so that's my name.
Yep. And I'm named after my dad, who is Adrian L. Varlack Sr. I'm named, of course, Junior, of course. And we actually have a nephew in our family named Adriel. So there's a lot of Adrians going around in our family.
Yes.
Yeah, so and we came to find out later on, just kind of a sidebar, that our son Tyler, we didn't know he wanted to be named Adrian also. So he could be the third.
Right. And I was really trying my best
Not.
You know, I was like, well, because coming up, Tess used to have such a hard time when people would call and ask for Adrian Barlack. And of course, she knew my nickname, which is Tracy,
Yep.
because we had to. Well, I've been called Tracy all my life. That's
Right.
been my nickname. However, it was great that I had a nickname because, man, to be walking around everywhere calling both of us Adrian would have been crazy.
Yeah.
And she would answer the phone sometimes as a little girl, and people would say, "Can I speak to Adrian Barlack?" So she would give it to her dad, and then he would say, "Tracy, this is for you," or she would give it to me, and I would say, "Babe, this is for you." And one time she answered the phone, and somebody asked her Adrian Barlack. She said, "Which one, the man or the woman?" And the person on the phone was confused. And so, so we were trying to get away from that. Not that, I mean, Adrian is a beautiful name. We both love it.
Yeah.
We were just trying to put a little bit of,
Yeah.
difference. Yeah.
Some distinction. Because it gets confusing, man.
It gets confusing.
It gets confusing. Yeah.
Let me tell you.
So let me tell you. Of course, before we were married, I was born in the Virgin Islands and in St. Thomas, and we moved here in 1972 to Cleveland, Tennessee, where my dad was appointed with the denomination that we're a part of presently.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was born in the Virgin Islands, but I was basically raised here in the South. And then Tracy was born in Chicago.
Illinois.
Yep.
Yes, Chirac.
And we're Chirac. She raised in Chirac on the south side
Yeah.
of Chirac.
Yeah.
So we kind of come from two different backgrounds and worlds in that way. And then we met under some interesting circumstances. We met at a revival service
You remember? Wow.
outside of actually where Tess is the worship leader
Yeah.
Spring Place, in their old
I forgot about
auditorium.
that too.
In their old auditorium,
Oh wow!
there
I
was
forgot about that.
there was a guy named Bruce Scotton who was preaching a revival.
Yeah.
I had gone to the revival service, and some people from what used to be around called Thomason College, they were coming to the revival as well. So I think outside of the revival, Tracy's good friend LaKaren, and I hope LaKaren's listening. Shout out to LaKaren. Shout out to LaKaren.
Yeah.
She introduced us. I'm not going to say while I was dating somebody else, but anyways, yeah, that's
Basically.
so basically that's what happened. So that's how we met.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So look at that.
Let me say the rest is history.
LaKaren came through. Hashtag.
Look, I know, right?
LaKaren came through. Came through.
I thank you.
Came through. Deuces.
Yeah.
So that's how we met.
Yes.
And that was, wait a minute. We're gonna, okay.
We'll be married 32 years.
32 years.
November 21st.
November 21st.
Can you believe
And
that?
then,
Oh my God. But we
before
knew each
that-
other 5 years before that.
so we've known each other 37. I can't
Yeah.
believe that. Wait a minute.
37 years.
37
Oh my
years.
God.
When I work around a lot of young people. So when I tell them that I've been married going on 32 years and they're not even 30 yet,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Comprehend.
That's wow.
It's a long time. Remember when we first got married and we would meet people and we would say, "How long have you been married?" And they'd say 5 years. And we would look at each other and go, "Man, 5 years, that is a long time."
Yeah.
And here we are going on 32 years. Wow.
32 years. Wow.
Time flies.
So we've been married 32 years. 32 years, November 21st.
Mhm.
And the neat part about November 21st is my mother-in-law, Ann Madden. Shout out to Mama Madden.
Yes.
What's up? Wild Willie. But Mama Madden, her birthday is November the 20th.
Yes.
So Tracy's birthday gift to Mama Madden
Was
was
him?
getting married on the 21st.
Don't be.
I'm
Don't
there.
be. You
The
know
Lord,
that's her favorite
the
child.
Lord
Yes,
was
I-
all
yeah.
in this.
You know what? I
All
believe it too.
in this.
Because I really believe I'm her firstborn, but this is her favorite child. Right here.
I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue because you can't argue with the truth. You can't argue with the truth.
They love
That's
each
true.
other. Well, that's a
Yeah.
blessing too. That is
Yeah.
a blessing.
Oh,
Talk about
speaking
good
of
marriage.
voices. Okay,
Who's
voices. When I would call the house, okay, okay. Let me go. Let me go with the Madden family. There was Kenneth Madden Jr.,
Mhm.
who's dad. Then there's Ann Madden. Hey, Vanessa, we love you. We've been praying for you guys. We love you so much. So there's Dad Madden, there's Mom Madden, and then there's Tracy, who's the oldest child,
Mhm.
and then there's Kenny, who's Kenneth Madden the third,
Mhm.
and then there's Drea. Okay, now when I would call, I would have a hard time figuring out of the ladies who I was talking to because all three of them, Ann Madden, Tracy, and Drea, sound almost exactly alike on the phone. And it was after a while I started kind of hearing the little differences, but at first I was striking out.
Yeah.
I was calling and Mom man to pick up, and at first I was saying stuff like, hey baby, and I had to take a minute and say, wait a minute.
Like, who is this?
Who is that? Because I really didn't want to get in no trouble. I really did not want to get in no trouble. So,
That's
yeah,
funny.
I remember that.
Yeah,
I
that was
remember
funny.
that. I remember that. I remember Kenny's laugh. When Kenny laughs, it's like
Feels the whole house.
his whole
Yeah.
body laughs,
Mhm.
and you can it just the room is filled with
Laughter. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. So and we know people talk about blended families. Can I tell you, every family is blended.
Yes.
Mhm.
Very good.
Every
Very
family
true.
is
Blended.
because you bring what who you are from where you've been,
Right.
and you bring that into a marriage.
Yes.
So every family basically is blended.
Different culture, backgrounds. It's not just him; it's his parents, and then his parents' parents, and then their parents. All of that comes through, And then for me, my parents, they were born and raised in the United States, or not in the Caribbean, and their parents and their parents, and they experienced a background of slavery where I don't think that your parents, uh, a little further back, they knew slavery was around, but didn't really experience having to be enslaved. So there's a lot,
Yeah.
So
And
yes,
it was even a different kind.
yes, and it was
of
totally different,
slavery.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
every family, you're right. Every family is blended. That's good.
Yeah.
Every family.
Every family is blended.
Mhm.
And I think we bring that when we marry and we come before the Lord. I think the Lord
Mhm.
understands that, and so He doesn't try to, and we shouldn't either. Which is one thing we can talk about later on. Our job is not to wipe out each other's personalities,
No.
but we're blended. The two become one.
Yes.
So it's like we're supposed to be willing to accept each other as we are,
Mhm.
and then from there, we grow and we learn to love each other even more. And then there's some things we have to do because there was part of me that had to grow up, part of me that had to change. There was some darkness in my heart, my life, and I was bringing that into the relationship, and so God had to really start dealing with me. He did work with me, and maybe at some time we'll go deeper into that. But yeah, we got to deal with that. But it's exciting that from our union,
Mhm.
that's her family. My family,
Right.
we're from the Virgin Islands, so we're Caribbean, or I don't even know how to describe that. Caribbean Americans or
Well, you were born in
African
the U.S.
Caribbean, but I was born in the
Yeah.
U.S. side. But
I would just say Caribbean,
yeah,
Caribbean,
Caribbean, whatever.
Caribbean.
Or Caribbean, whatever.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, it's Afro-Caribbean,
Afro American Caribbean.
No.
I don't
No.
even know, man.
You guys are
Just
Afro-Caribbean. Your
Afro-Caribbean,
children
period.
are
Right.
Caribbean
but American.
Okay, that went way over my head. So,
Shout out to Cherish for helping
so-
me figure that out.
but the neat part about how God works is even though Tracy's family is African American, they were around Caribbean people
Yes.
because the church that she was a part of was basically Bahamian in America, in Chi-Town.
Yes.
And the churches that they would even associate with, there was an associate church that was in Evanston that was more Jamaican, but all of those cultures and things came together. I mean, it's beautiful how they worked that out. But on my side of the family, there's 7 children. My mom and dad had 7. I have 3 brothers and 3 sisters. I'm the oldest. We're both firstborn
Yes.
children. Yeah.
You go figure
Right.
that one out.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So now you begin to understand some stuff already.
Right.
2
Two firstborn.
firstborn.
Both named Adrian.
Both.
Ooh, yeah.
Matter of fact, wasn't there one time that we got, because we live in the same town that my dad and mom live in. So was it the electric bill?
It was the utility. The lights
Utility.
were turned off
Yes.
because they had placed our payment on Dad's.
Right. I thought, yeah. So Dad had extra money on his utility bill. We in the dark.
And then when we moved to Texas, they shipped, even though we asked them to only send our mail from our address, because we didn't live in the same house as they did.
Yeah.
They sent our mail and Dad's mail. They forwarded everything to Texas. So Mom and Dad were not getting mail for a while, and they were like, "Are you not getting our mail?" I didn't even realize because everybody's name's Adrian.
Right.
So we didn't even realize what was going on.
Yeah, you got to be real specific when you talk to the post office. Yeah, real specific.
Okay.
So, but that's kind of our background. And then questions came off.
Yeah.
We've been in the next one was about ministry and our children. We have Tess who's here.
She's our oldest.
She's our firstborn.
Firstborn.
And then we have Tyler and Vanny. Tyler is in Texas. Vanny's our daughter-in-law, daughter in love.
Yeah.
And again, we've been praying for Vanny's family and believing God for them to give them comfort and peace during this time. And then we have a daughter in heaven whose name is Andrea. Wait a minute, Tyler is 25. So Andrea would be 20.
She would be 24.
She'd be 20.
They were actually, Tyler and Andrea would actually be the same age for 6 days. She was born on May 5th, and Tyler was born on May 11th, not even a full year apart. Him in 1999, Andrea in 2000.
Because you both are insane.
Yeah. So when Andrea turned, when Tyler was 20, one, Andrea turned 1 on. Wait a minute, Andrea turned 1 on. Yeah, when Tyler was 1, the next would roll around for 2nd birthday. Andrea would turn 1 on May 5th, and then Tyler would not turn 2 until May 11th. So they were 1 together
for like 6 days.
For like 6 days.
Yeah. So she's in heaven, and then sometime we'll talk about that. But that was a very that was one of the deepest experiences our family has ever been through.
And change some dynamics, some things around too, with the way we do family. So yeah, we can probably get into that later on. Yeah.
And then, so that's our children. And we are grateful
Oh,
for our children.
God is good. Yeah, we've been blessed.
We're
Great
grateful.
children.
We've been in ministry a long time. I started preaching, I want to say when I was 15, I think.
Started preaching.
8. Oh yeah, when you was
Well, I preached it, yeah, but as far as
Official, yeah.
officially saying I really want to do this and accept that calling was around 15 or so. And so I've been preaching now. See, 15, I'm 56, so that's what, that's a long time. And then that's
yeah,
that's
41 years. 41.
yeah. Tracy, her family has been around ministry and ministered for.
Both my parents are actually ordained ministers. Of course, my father has gone on to be with the Lord.
Yeah.
My mom is an ordained minister. So I've grown up in that household. But also, I used to, of course, I would do Sunday school. I would do help with children's ministry. We used to be the VLBs, Victory Leaders Band. Anybody, Church of God of Prophecy knows what VLB is.
And the choir.
And yeah, I was in the choir, of course, but also I led a women's group, single ladies, just before a couple of years, maybe a year or two, just before I was married. I did a single ladies group Bible study.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've been in ministry, we've both been in ministry.
And she's continued to minister as a pastor's wife, as a minister's wife. She's led ladies groups since then, and I guess the thing I like is Tracy ministers to whoever the Lord opens the door to, and that could be, I mean, that could be an official setting, that could be on the job, that could be friends, that could be anywhere.
Anywhere.
Yeah. So, and do not let her fool you. Mama Madden, and Tracy does it too. Actually, Drea does it too. When they get up to, quote, testify, unquote, it ain't a testimony. It's a sermon. When Mama Madden would get up, she'd be like, she'd be from the first time she opened her mouth to when she sat down, she was on fire. On fire.
Oh, it's not.
I'm saved, sanctified, Holy Ghost filled.
You gonna short out the mic, Bob.
I'm sorry.
Just
And a
tell
member of
the
the Great Church of God.
Just telling the truth.
So, she was on fire. So, we've been in ministry for a long time, and we've ministered to all kinds of people. Young people gravitate to us, and even children. We also ministered to older people because for a long time, even though we were pastoring, we were some of the youngest people in some of the churches we were at, but older people would, because we wanted to serve. And so we've been in ministry for a while. So let's get on our subject then about fighting for our families. Baby, when you hear that passage, fight for your family, what do you think that means?
Well, being a Christian and trying to be Christ-like, I think fighting for my family means, what it means to me is to be able to do the things that the Lord would have me do for my family, raising the way I need to raise my children, to try my best to protect them. One thing I had to learn, I think, with raising children is that no matter how much I tried within myself, I was not able to do anything. I had to give everything to God, all of my children, which means, but that helped me in learning that, because I didn't worry, a whole lot if they were out late and they shouldn't have been, which didn't happen very often. Maybe I can count on one hand, or things were happening, or they had to be involved in stuff. Instead of me sitting up, pacing the floor, worrying, I would go to sleep. I have to put them in God's hands. because there was nothing I could do. If they were out of town and doing something and something happened to them or something bad happened, I couldn't probably even get to them. I would have to have someone else help me get there or do. So there was no reason to, uh, to worry or pace or to wonder. I prayed, I put them in God's hands, and I trusted God to take care of them for whatever that looked like. Now, it was a lesson to be learned because, when Andrea was sick, I fully went into it thinking that God was going to heal her and bring her home. However, God and I we had a discussion before, but I just kind of thought, well, you can do it. Now, I know now in my heart that, she is healed and no longer in pain. The healing just didn't look like I wanted it to look like. So, in going through all of that, God had taught me to um, just be peaceful. So building or fighting for my family is much a part of me making sure that I put all of my worry and my thought about how a family should look like or how they should be raised in God's hands. Does that make sense? Because that way, to me, the reason why that to me is fighting for my family is because God is really the only person that can really take care of them. I feel like you guys are uh, loaned to me for a short time. You really belong to God, and so I fight for my family by trying not to project onto you my insecurities or the things I think should happen, but to teach and to be an example, not just say the words, but live a different way. I try my best to practice what I preach. We're not perfect, but we try our best to practice what we preach and to teach our children and to be very open with them. If anybody that knows me, I'm a kind of a blunt person. I don't mean. I hope so. People used to think I'm mean or intimidating or whatever. That's not who I am. I'm just blunt. I say what I feel. I don't see the need always to beat around the bush. However, I'm very honest with that. But I have learned to be very loving and kind, making sure that I'm kind with the words that I say, not just because it's true, I'm going to say it, because that's not always the deal. You still have to show love to people.
Yeah.
So, in that, I've tried my best to raise my children, in the fear of the Lord, and to be able to be honest and to be able to be open, um, and just try my best to protect them. And mostly with my prayer, I prayed a lot. When we were coming up, my mom used to pray.
Yeah.
We would hear
Yeah.
my mother's prayers all throughout the house, and I just learned maybe not even a few days ago that she did that on purpose to make sure we always knew how important prayer was. And that to me is the main way
Wow.
to fight for your children. She
just-
did that
she
on
ju-
purpose.
she just
She
told me.
just told me that. But when I
Wow.
was growing up and when I went to college and I would go out by myself and when I moved to different places and traveled, if I was going through something, I would hear my mother's prayers. That's what kept me. She fought for us. She fought for us in the spirit world. We went through a lot of stuff growing up, and there were a lot of things we were going through throughout my life. But of course, too, that's one of the main things, the ways you fight for your family is through prayer and making sure they know how to pray.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did the same thing. I wanted my children to hear me pray. But I didn't know my mother did it on purpose, literally until just a few days ago. But because that was my experience, hearing my mom pray, that's what I wanted my children to hear too. Because
Wow.
to me, I felt that was important. That's a battleground. That's how you really fight for them. So all of that, what I said, basically, is me keeping them in prayer and keeping them secure in that. That's how I mainly fought.
That's cool. That's cool. Praying for our families. One night, I told the Wednesday night classes, I teach a Wednesday night class at our church. And when Wednesday night, I mentioned that one night We lived in a 2-level house, 2-story house, and mom and dad slept upstairs, and my sisters slept upstairs, and the boys slept downstairs. Who at the time was Glenn, Gerald, myself. We shared a room, and then I got my own room. But one night it was like 1 or 2 in the morning or something like that, and I was going to the restroom, the bathroom, and I kept hearing this sound. And I was like, "What is that?" And I went into our little lobby area, and I could hear my dad was in I guess that's the living room up there. He was in the living room, and he was praying. And he actually prayed over us. Um, during my teenage years, my dad and I did not have the best of relationships. I was rebellious towards my dad in several ways. But on that particular night, I knew that he was at least praying for us, in that way. So that becomes very critical. And I remember when Tess, especially, was young, and we did it with Tyler too. We trained them to memorize scripture, and so one of the things that Tess and Tyler would do is we'd give them scriptures, and for Tess, Psalm 27:1, "The Lord is my light, my salvation, whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life, of whom shall I be afraid?"
Right.
Then we saw in them ministry kind of come out. Tyler is musically talented as far as playing instruments. He can sing too.
Yes.
Tyler can sing too.
Don't let him fool you.
But yeah, because he'll try to be quiet, but he can sing. But and he was good at a few instruments. But what he really loved and enjoyed was the bass. And he went to a Christian school, and the bass, he became the bass player for the youth group. And one night we were at the church, and they were practicing, and the youth pastor's name was Pastor Adrian.
Oh, yeah, we couldn't get away.
Adrian was everywhere. Adrian was everywhere. But we heard Tyler playing with the band, and Pastor Adrian would say something like, "Let's go to another key." They'd start in, start in F. And then he'd say, "Let's go to G." And Tyler, without reading the music, would go to G. He'd switch. And then if you put it in a minor key, or if you put it in there's so many key variations. Augmented, it basically whatever you can do with a chromatic scale, you can basically find a key for it. So Tyler would do that, and because and we went
In awe.
we were like, wow. And he learned that from of course, there's music in our family. Both sides of our family have music. Of course, Tess is a songbird.
Yes.
And
She plays piano too.
plays piano and does dance and some other stuff. So it's amazing. But Tyler learned from
Children's pastor.
the children's pastors, Sue and Murray Learhoff, and they helped. And Murray really helped Tyler because he invested time in Tyler. As a matter of fact, I remember Tyler got his first little guitar. We bought him this little, and it came in a cardboard case.
Yeah.
Box, remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was, but he, even when he was older and had another guitar, he still played that little guitar, and he played it in our church, the church that we pastored.
He did.
He played it on Sunday mornings. He would play, and the Lord is really.
Him and his cousin, they both took the.
As a matter of fact, Japheth played bass. Now Japheth is, to me, almost a world class
Yeah, he plays the
bassist. The upright, he plays upright and
bass guitar.
and electric bass. But all of them kind of got their beginnings in that church. And then we had a nephew named Adriel who was interested in singing and acting. That was his thing. So I think I know godly influence
Yes, it's very important.
is important.
But the balance is important too, because even though our children, because you were pastoring in Texas, and I think one of the ways too, I always felt like I fought for our children is I wanted them to have a balance. So I knew you being a pastor because we love church, okay? We love worshiping and I love to
Right,
hear you
right,
preach and you
right.
love to preach.
Right.
And that was important to us.
Right.
But I also know doing that, we go to worship Lord, God, but Sundays are a word day when you're in ministry. They're just not. Most people come to church and they enjoy and they're able to sit and they're enjoying. They do. They can go home and eat. Sundays are a work day. Adrian literally works 7 days a week. Okay, he works Monday through Saturday on his secular job, and then Sunday, we go and we worship God. And trust me, we are worshiping. We're not looking at it like, oh my God, this is a job. No, but it is a work day for him because he's not only just sitting to enjoy, he's actually participating and doing things. So that's how it was. And as a pastor, it was even more. People would call on him all the time. So it was very important for me to teach my children balance. So when they were at church, I wanted them to fully enjoy that experience, getting to know God, worshiping God, which they had early on that experience. So in church, they were comfortable with it. They weren't the kids that I don't want to go to church. I don't want to. No, never. They were wanting to go. As a matter of fact, Tyler and Japheth, with their children's group, would go to nursing homes and play
Sing,
for
yeah.
the elderly and sing for them and stuff.
Yeah.
So they wanted to do those things. They loved doing that. Tyler used to go out and help with people when there were tornadoes or hurricanes. He would want to go and help clean and help fix up.
Yeah.
So they had a desire to minister and go. And I think it is because I tried to get that balance. So when church was over for them. You know what I mean? It was not like they were not staying 24/7 because I thought and I prayed and asked God to help me, to be able to do that because I know that he was going to be busy. So when my children were done with service, I took them and made sure they were able to get home and get a meal and play. And they would get home, get a meal, play with their cousins, play with their friends, do whatever they needed to do as children. And I think that's very important. Now, were we always able to do that? Probably not. But we did our best to make sure there was some balance there so that it wouldn't all run it together. And so that hope, prayerfully that when they grew up, they did not despise going to church because they were always there. Now that doesn't, and it took nothing away from them wanting to go. Now, Tess is praise and worship leader at a church. She's very active in her church. Tyler is very active in his church. They have a Bible study with the family. My daughter-in-law's family up there in the house. They want to be with God, and I think that having the balance there, they did not fall out of church or desiring to be around God's people, if that makes sense.
So that let's kind of bring this around then as we conclude this. So that's fighting for our families. You fight for your family by your life. You fight by your family with prayer. You fight with your family even in your philosophy of how you handle your children, how you handle quiet time, how you work. All those things are ways that you fight for your family. I love that Tracy had a more open approach because some people in their Christian walk try to almost seclude themselves from certain things, like don't go to movies, don't go to parties, don't go out to the mall, that kind of thing. But the kids were able to go places and do things and be with their friends and all that. So that's important, and that creates a well-rounded person, because when they get out in the world, they're going to have to function in the world.
Right.
They're going to have to survive in the world. So you got to be able to handle that. Yeah. But the other part of that is, okay, so that's fighting. But when the people in Nehemiah, they had the tools to fight with, the weapons to fight with, but the tools to build with.
Mhm.
So it was fighting and building.
Right.
So then how maybe do we build
Mhm.
our family? We fight for our family,
Mhm.
but bringing it around here, how do we build our family?
We need to be an example.
Okay.
You know, say what you mean and do what you say.
Okay.
Be consistent.
Okay.
We tried that. That's one of the things we did. Like I said, we were not perfect. Being consistent because children need and discipline. A lot of people do not believe in discipline, and I'm not talking about because there's a totally different discipline and abuse, completely different.
Right.
Completely different.
Right.
We loved our children. So because I loved my child, discipline came because I don't want you to think that you can do something and there not be consequence.
Yeah.
Because the world is not going to teach you that.
Right.
So in my home, it would have did them a disservice to have them not be disciplined when as soon as they walked out my door, everybody is waiting to discipline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody is.
Yeah.
So making sure that they knew how to function in life, teaching them practical things. Of course, I wanted them to be in church, but they were musically inclined. They loved everything about Tess would sing, and I don't even think she knew she was singing.
Right.
Okay?
Naturally.
All the time from since
Yeah.
she entered her first contest with singing at the age of 5
Yeah.
and won second place with adults. I think she was the only child that age there. So these things were in them naturally. So I try my best to make sure that they grew up. Now, some church folk or Christian people don't believe in it, but whatever music and genre that she was interested in, I'd let her go to it.
Sure.
And I will always tell them though, in the house, I don't want you listening to music with all this cussing and crazy stuff in it. But I would let them listen to jazz and 70s. That was Adrian's favorite, and different kinds of music. And of course, they love gospel music. So that they were able to get the feel for it, because to me, it was important. It was a part of them. I let them go out. They were very social. Tess is super social. So yes, she went to homecoming. She went to dances. She went to, but because I taught them at home what to do and what not to do, when they went out to these different events or parties or things like that, they knew what was going on. One time, Tyler was invited out with some friends, and when he got in the car and they pulled off, the friend put out some alcohol in the car. My son, as soon as he got to where he was going when that car stopped, he said, "Mom, tell Dad to come get me." And I said, "What's going on? Are you all right?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "But they had alcohol in the car, and I'm not going to be." He already knew. It's the teaching. Don't try to shield your children so much that you don't teach them how to live, how to function in the world. Because they have to know. Now, God says we're in this world, don't be a part of it. And teaching them to live where they are gives them the opportunity not to want to join. Does that make sense? So you understand what I mean? So I taught them, and I was very open with them about everything. Because my mother was, Lord, sometimes. But anyway, people sometimes as parents we get embarrassed about things we talk about. But if we don't teach our children, somebody's going to teach them. And I guarantee you it's not going to be the right way. It's our job and our duty. So building them up, making sure that they are real well-rounded, that they know about everything they need to know about when they go to school. I taught Tess about when she first was going to college, she said, "Mom, I don't want to go. I think I want to stay." And I said, "No, you need to go." And she's like, "Please, can I just stay home?" I said, "Go at least for a year," because I didn't want her to have any regrets. So go. It's scary to leave your parents' house, but go to school, try it for a year. And after a year, you want to come home, come home. She was there for 2 weeks. She didn't call me for the next couple months. You see what I mean? But here's the thing. If I had said, "Okay, well then you stay home, you just go," she never would have had the experience. She never would have known what she likes and what she doesn't like. Did she make mistakes? Yes, she did. But guess what? She talked to me about most of those things because I left the door open. I didn't make things taboo. I told them what the word of God said. We taught them, we tried to live it, and then we allowed them to be able. Now, when they were little kids, I was like, no, I was not that parent that said, oh, I'm just going to let them go. They'll learn on their own. No, that's crazy talk because kids are kids. We help them how to walk. We have to show them what to do. It's not that we project our own thoughts and visions on them, but we have to teach them and give them boundaries, give them rules, give them things that they need to know and not know, teach them what the Word of God tells us to teach them. Those are building blocks. Taking them to Sunday school, we would do all kinds of. We would go to different classes. Tess and I used to take sign language classes. We would travel and do stuff together. We would dance in the house. We would do all kinds of things. So I introduced those. Right now, my daughter teaches dance for Unity Dance Studios. As a matter of fact, she's a director of both of musical theater. So they're at the studio. So all of these things are important. There has to be a balance. Yes, we have to make sure our children love God and know God. But if we are making the world that we live in such taboo that we don't even teach them or prepare them, as soon as they get old enough to go and find out what it is. I used to hear this phrase when I was little: forbidden fruit is the most sweet. Okay. So we teach we teach and we pray. That's all you can do. I taught my children because every time somebody turns 21, the first thing everybody wants to go do is go drink. So I would teach my children, that's between you and God. I trust the God in you. And I did. I told them what I said. There have been some things in the family.
Yeah.
There have been some some addictions. This is why I don't partake of certain things.
Right.
But that's going to be between you and God. And I have to trust the God in you. And I can't put my fears and of course, I would love to have said, don't you dare do it. But that would not have helped them at all. Because once I teach you, once I give you the building blocks, once I show you, once I live it in front of you, then from that time on, it's really between you and God.
All right. Because that's the key to building the family is that your kids will be able to do it without you.
Right.
They will grow up and be able to handle life without you because of the tools you've given them to live. So that's an important thing. All right.
What do you think the building blocks are?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think the building also is not just living the life before them and not only giving them the tools, but how do I say this? This was my challenge. Letting your children carefully make the mistakes they need to make, because some of what we say they will accept, and then some of it will have to be learned.
Yes.
Just like me, just like Tracy, just like anybody. We some of it, okay, I accepted. And some of it, I'm like, no, I know my way. And then when we did that, it fell on our face. Oh yeah, Mom and Dad said if we did this, this, and this, or the Word of God said we did this, 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 this would happen. So letting them do that, be the people that God's called them to be, without us being overbearing, but at the same time setting it up in such a way that they've got the tools and they've got the resources and they've got the weapons they need to be able to fight their fight.
When you do that, you create a safe place for them to come and talk.
You create, and that's important.
Yes,
that's important because there were some times in my life I wish I had someone that I could have gone to, but I was so afraid of what I was dealing with that if I had told someone, I was afraid I would be ostracized or something. So
Big Thorn talked about
giving that freedom.
My mom was like, she was open.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I can talk to her about I didn't have to do anything in secret from my mom. Of course, there were some things I don't tell. I never told my mom everything when I was coming up, but most
But she
Mostly
probably
everything. She probably already.
She probably already know.
Yeah, she was that person.
Moms are like that. They'd be like,
When you walk in the house, they can run your day down to you.
yeah.
Mine
That's
was.
just yeah.
So,
That's
but
just
anyway.
great.
Okay.
All right. Well, praise the Lord. Thank you, baby, for being with us
You're
tonight. We're
welcome.
going to do this again next week. We're going to go a little bit more into marriage itself next week.
Yes.
And if you've got any questions, comments, if there's anything you want to ask, please let us know. Put it in the comment section. Get in on this, and because being married almost 32 years, we got stories.
Yeah.
So we got stuff.
We got stuff to say.
So and we want to bless you. We want to help you. We want you to have 32 years of marriage.
Mm-hmm.
We want you to be your first or second year of marriage, or maybe you're looking for someone, or maybe you're just in a state where right now I don't feel like I need to look for someone. I just think I need to hang right. That's okay. We want to be a blessing to you. We want to help you build your life according to the pattern that God has given us in His Word. So all right, we through.
Mhm.
Everything else,
We
baby?
good.
Tess, you good?
I'm Gucci.
Like the brand, man. Like the brand.
Oh my goodness.
Like and subscribe.
Bye.
Love y'all. Good night.
Good night.